In this video, I kept mixing up what a pulse width modulation is and calling it a duty cycle, which was incorrect of me. The duty cycle is a ratio on time for a period, where the pulse width modulation is the controller average power delivered to the device. So if you like to have a smooth variable control, like let's say speed or position, you will have a pulse width modulation control signal going to this device, right? And the duty cycle is the off and on time. So don't beat me up too much in the comments. But other than that, let's get into this video. Hey, what up, folks? So we got a 2012 i30 Hyundai. Customer complaint is that the vehicle is stolen and it also has a rough idle at times when it do runs. He stole a few times when he got his vehicle back from the mechanic. So he brought it here on the tow truck. So long story short, it boiled down that the idle control valve that was on this vehicle was not good. It was trash. So I was able to get the vehicle into the shop, right? Once I got it in, right, I made the call on the idle control valve and I was able to, get the vehicle running again. So we put aftermarket idle control valve, but idle speed control actuator on, and we got the vehicle to run a little better. We was able to drive the vehicle, but now I came back to the shop. I got a P1505 crank sensor fault. Okay, so I replaced the crank sensor because this was the crank sensor that was in this vehicle. Cool. But still, when we start the vehicle up, it idles, but I'm seeing an idle control valve circuit 1 fault. So let's put the scan tool on and let me show you exactly what's going on. Okay, so I'm able to scan the vehicle. I got a P1505 idle speed control circuit 1 low, right, every time. So you see you got a bunch of fault codes, right? So it doesn't matter which one it is. Okay, so we're gonna do some checks on the hood, right, at the idle control valve, see if it's is it a harness issue, or is it the ECU, or is it the aftermarket idle control valve that I purchased. I highly doubt it is, because I mean, two parts can be given the same codes, but this one had the idle running really high and was not working at all. It was basically just stalling the vehicle out. Okay, so let's go on the hood and let's do some checks. So this is the idle control valve that I replaced. This is the ECU. I was doing some back probing checks right there. I'm going to show you exactly what I found. Okay, this is a 3-wire signal. This is a ground signal, right? You got a hot at all time, which is pin 2, pin 1, and pin 3 is the signal going to the idle control valve, right? So what we have here on this side is the circuit 1, which is this pink wire right here. So I'm going to show you a quick test you can do to ensure that is the ECU, is it harness, right? So we could unplug this right here. As I said, it's 3 wires. So what I'm going to do is keep it low tech. I'm just going to have my bulb hooked on to the idle control valve, idle speed control valve actuator harness. I'm going to put the key on and we're just going to do some checks and see if this bulb will lit up. Right, I'm expecting both sides of the circuits to be lit when I use my bulb, right? So let's put the key on and see what's going on. So you know how to start it. You just gotta put key on, engine off, and you hear the engine just did its thing by priming the fuel pump. And we're just gonna go into pin 3. You see the bulb lit up. Okay, so that let me know that I'm getting 12 volts right there. Well, let's go on to pin 1, which is to open the idle control valve, and let's see exactly what's going on. Nothing. All right, so is it enough to call the idle control valve again? Not really. I mean, what could be at fault? The harness or the ECU? Okay, but I'm gonna just go a little bit further. I'm gonna just plug this back in. Right, matter of fact, I'm gonna rescan the vehicle and show you exactly what codes do you get when you have it unplugged. Okay, so before we had the P1505, when we have a fault on the pin 1, which is basically letting you know that you're not getting 12 volts on the circuit. But right now I got it unplugged, so I'm expecting to see a fault, which is P1507 and a P1505, which let me know that I have fault on both circuits. Do I have to start the vehicle? Let's see. I did start it up. Let's switch off. We might have to redo that check again. Let me see exactly what's going on. I may have to just go back in because you gotta start the vehicle for the ECU to see that the idle control valve is not plugged in. Or is it? Let's see what's going on here. No, I still got the same fault codes. Let's come out and let's go back in. Let me see if I got two faults this time. Yes, I do. I'm expecting to see the P1505 and the P07 fault code. Let me know that we have a circuit 1 and circuit 2 low current because it's unplugged, right? We don't have a fault on the pin 2 because I'm getting power, right? That fuse is being shared by other things. So this idle control valve doesn't has a designated fuse for that actuator. So we don't have to worry about that. But if I wasn't like let's say I was missing power off of that, then I gotta go and trace back to the fuse, and well, most likely might be a harness issue. All right, but in this case it's not. So there you have it. I'm getting a P1505 and a P1507, circuit low and circuit high. And if I go and plug it back in, I'm gonna see this P1507 off. So that's letting me know that we gotta focus on circuit 1, which is pin 1. To redo our checks and see exactly how many faults that we get on the system. We may get none. I just gotta start the vehicle up again. Right, I believe that we do have a fault with the ECM, but I don't want to jump to conclusion as yet. I know definitely that this idle control valve is not good. I did remove these screws and try to move the bearing and the little magnet thing, and it didn't work. It still came back, so it could be that it was sticking, I guess. So once that's stopped, I'm going to switch off and I'm just going to start the vehicle up. Okay, so we start the vehicle up. We got no lights on the dash. Got it running for a little bit. Want to switch off, switch back on, and let's go back out and let's rescan. So we're going to see one fault on the system. I also saw that they had a alternator generator problem, but I saw that he replaced the alternator as well. So this vehicle has been down for some months due to the engine, I think he said was locking up, and then they replaced the engine. Then after when it came out, it was like the alternator, the battery or something like that. And then on top of that, it became another issue and it kept going. So I'm going to show you exactly what's going on. Got a P15005. So we still got that fault on circuit low. I'll show you the signal coming off these 3 wires, and I'm also going to back probe off the ECU and show you exactly what's the fault. So let me get my tools set up and I'm going to show you what's good. All right, so I just got you close where I can get a view of the multimeter and the actuator. Right, so I'm going to back probe into pin 3 where I have my negative lead on the battery negative. I'm expecting to see 12 volts. Well, at least not 12 volts. I might get like something like a default ground or something. Let's see what's going on. All right, 12 volts is this. Key on, engine off. Let's see. Right, so I'm seeing 6 volts. Right, sorry about the glare. I can't do nothing about that. I'm getting 6.6 volts. Right, that's all for pin 3. So let's go on. Oh man, yep, trying to videotape and hold multimeter and talk at the same time. That's be very challenging at times. Let's go on to pin 1, which is to open the actuator, and let's see what we get. I'm getting 10 volts. Is it that we're supposed to have 10 volts? I don't think so, right? But if you go on pin 2, I'm supposed to get battery voltage. Okay, let's see what's going on. Oh, this is pin 3. Let's go back on pin. Yeah, so we're getting battery voltage on pin 2. So with that, now I'm going to show you something else, right? So let's turn this to oscilloscope mode. I'm not sure if you can see. Okay. I'm just going to set this up right here a little better. Sorry about the glare, man, but as I mentioned, I can't do nothing about that. I'm outside today. Okay, good. So we're going to go off pin 1. No, this is pin 2. I'm getting 12 volts. Right, I'm just going to bring you closer so you can see. And 12 volts. Okay. So what I'm expecting to see basically is pulse modulation go into this actuator. So let's go on pin 3, which is the close at the control valve. Every square block on this voltage side is 5 volts per division. Okay, so right now 1, 2, 2.5, which is like, let's say 13 volts max. Okay, minimum is close to what, 100 millivolts, which is real good. That's on pin 3, which is to close the actuator. Right, my duty cycle, can I do duty cycle with this? 1 millisecond. That is how fast this is going, and is every 2 blocks. Okay, so let's go on to pin 1, which is to open, and let's take a look and see what's going on as well. Let's take off the hole, and you see that piece of crap? That's what I'm getting. It's not pulling down to ground at all. It's staying high at 10.3 volts, which is wrong. So we're going to do the checks from the ECU side. So right now on pin, what's that? I can't remember which one it was, but this is for the opening of the actuator. Okay, and let's turn the key on and let's see what's going on. Let's see. Am I getting anything? There you have it. I'm getting the same waveform that I'm getting directly off the actuator. So is it enough to call the ECU? I believe so, because the ECU is what sends the ground to the actuator. And if it's not seeing it, you're going to keep changing the actuator each time, and it's not going to make a difference. But we did have a faulty actuator. I did do all my checks, and it was not moving at all. Okay, it was sticking in and out, right? And the customer is aware of that. Okay, so right now, we're not getting what we're supposed to get. Okay, so I'm going to make the call on the ECU and see what needs to be done to get the correct ECU in this vehicle and see if it will solve our problem.
1 hour later.
This is the original ECU. Someone wasn't here before, right? The screws was basically slack. And I'm going to transfer the data from this ECU to this one. I got a Chinese box. The customer went and purchased one. So I'm going to install it, and let's see if we get the same waveform that we got on this previous one. Okay, so this is the MG 7.9.8 box. So let's see if I made the right call. So I had to get it cloned so I can, do my thing. So I'm just going to take the battery negative off. Okay, let's put that there, and I'm going to remove the ECU, and we're going to do the same test we did earlier. Okay, as I mentioned before, someone was in this ECU before, so we're just going to put this to the side. Okay, and we're going to install this, new clone ECU, and let's see if whatever signal we get on that, if it's going to light that bulb. Okay, let's close that up, and let's put the battery pole back on. Let's redo our checks the same way we did it earlier. I'm going to put the key on. I'm going to get my bulb. Okay. So I'm going to just move this multimeter to the side a little bit. And let's unplug this bulb right here. And as you saw earlier, I was getting basically power on that. Hold on, let's take the AC off. Yeah, I was getting power on both legs of the circuit. Circuit 1 and circuit 2. So let's redo our checks the same way we did it earlier. I'm going to get the white and the yellow. I'm just going to back probe right here, but front probe. I'm not forcing anything in. I'm just going to use the correct spade. Let's touch the blade. Key is on, and you see the bulb lit up. So this is, which one is this? This is pin 3. So let's go on to pin 1. Let's see what's going on. I'm getting current on both of them. So does that let me know that we got a fix? I mean, yeah, for sure. So we did have a fault coming off this circuit. And let's check our waveform and let's see exactly if I'm getting
a pulse width module control
where it's pulling down the ground directly off circuit 1. And there you have it. Yep, we definitely getting the same thing. So let's go on to pin 1 again, directly onto the control signal wire, or the control wire. I wouldn't say signal wire for circuit 1, which is to open the valve. Okay, and it's going to stick my multimeter right there. And there you have it again. So I'm on pin 1. I'm getting
a pulse width module control
where it's pulling all the way down the ground, where that last ECU, I wasn't getting that at all. So does that fix it? I believe it does. So I was able to put everything back together, but I had a little delay due to probably the other mechanic messed with the idle screw that's on the throttle body. So I'm gonna put the key on, engine off. I still gotta set that over. So I'm just going to reconnect the scan tool. I still got all the plastic covering and pipes and stuff like that to sort out. So let's switch this off. Let's come back out. Let's go back in. And let's do a full scan again. And I'm going to start the vehicle up after and see if we get any fault codes on the system. Yeah, so we did have a fault on the ECU that was causing the P1505. Yes, I mean, I can hear it in the comments. Guys will say it was either control valve, it was a harness. I mean, it can be anything. That's why we test. And that's why I went beyond and show you how I was able to narrow down that the ECU was at fault. Okay, I believe the customer is really going to be ecstatic and happy that, you know, I was able to narrow this system down for him. Right, so there you have it. We have no fault codes on the ECU at all. So let's start it up and let's see. All right, check engine light is off. So you gotta let the vehicle warm up. So I'm just gonna go on to the ECM general, and I'm gonna look at the idle because I like to set the idle screw. All right, I'm not sure exactly how long he had this fault. You're gonna read fault codes. I don't have any fault, but I believe we was able to narrow down this really quick and came to a conclusion that you have a fault on the ECU that was causing the idle to be all over the place. So let's look for engine speed, right? Idle control state, idle control, and let's take a look at I can look at my long-term and short-term just for the hell of it. And well, we're not going anywhere, so I'm gonna play it. Oh, okay. So long-term is at -1. RPM is kind of high, but as I mentioned, I still have to mess with the idle screw a little bit because guys was there messing with those things. So matter of fact, let's go on and see if we can make some adjustments up in front. So I got the cable off right here. because I still gotta do some adjusting here. And once I bring the idle down, I just gotta wait till it reaches the operating temperature to figure out exactly where the idle is supposed to be. Just gonna bring it down some more. I don't want to bring it down too much. Right now it's at 900 RPM. Let's graph this and let's look at the idle speed. So I'm at 892.95. Let's look on the dash and let's see exactly how much that we have. It's just under the 1. But as I mentioned earlier, we did get rid of that P1505, which is why the vehicle was here. Okay, so let's call that a fix. We're gonna definitely chalk it up as a faulty ECU. All right, I got the new one that the customer, supplied, installed, and I'm gonna just fine tune the idle. Well, you know me, I always like to verify my fix. There you have it. The car is running. Right, you see it's at 12.5. Right, my minimum is 200 millivolts and lower, and my max is at battery voltage. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with this voltage because it's like 16 volts, and he do have a aftermarket alternator, so I'm not sure what that's about. He didn't come for that. Basically, if you need me to diagnose it, well, that'll be a different video. But for now, I'm seeing 14 volts off the scan tool, and I'm reading right now really good. That's circuit 1. Let's go on to circuit 2. One is more wide at the bottom because it's closed right now. Only when I rev the engine, you'll see the change. So let's do that. So we get open wider. Let's see if we could narrow this down a little bit more for y'all to see what it is. And back to pin 1, and you can see that I'm getting reaction like I'm supposed to. So until next time, y'all take it easy.